Hey everybody, it's Major Sebastiani, and welcome to my first commander's call with you. I know it's been a few months since I got here. I got here in July. There's a couple reasons I waited to do this commander's call. Number one, because of coronavirus. I obviously want to do a commander's call in person, speak to you in front of you, interact with you, things like that. Number two, I don't like to just get in to a squadron and take up everybody's time, and I'm sure that, you know, in person people come to this commander's call both on duty or off duty or during the middle of their sleep schedule. I don't like doing that. By creating a video, I can submit this to you guys and you can watch it on your own whenever your leadership deems best for you to watch it. And my intent is that hopefully everybody gets to this commander's call and is able to watch it sometime in the month of December, before the holidays. Also, I wanted to be able to basically sit and observe and figure out how the squadron works, what the culture of the squadron is, some things that we need to work on. We just closed out our DOCS, our climate assessment survey in the squadron, and that gave me a chance to kind of see what everybody had to say, what the inputs were, where our weaknesses were, where our strengths were. And in this environment, while I'm speaking to everybody, I can address those items and make a good vision, a good plan for my way forward for the squadron as commander. So that's why I've waited a few months. I know I've heard a few comments about, you know, haven't had a commander's call. I haven't had a system or a time when I can address everybody. So here it is. Welcome. Thank you for sitting and taking a few of your minutes to join me and watch this commander's call. I'm going to jump into a few things real quick. I have a lot of items to cover. DOCS is the first item. I'm going to cover some accomplishments that I have witnessed since I've gotten here in July by the squadron. Award winners. My vision for the squadron. We're going to discuss some sapper training items. The first sergeant's going to join us, and I'm going to end with some COVID-19 information, some notes from the wing. Another special thing that I hope that you guys enjoy is, as opposed to listening to me and my monotone for however long this video takes, hopefully no more than an hour and 15 minutes, I'm going to interject probably 4 different times with someone who I look up to, someone from the local community who is an expert on wellness. Every time that I talk to you guys, whether it's on posts or in the hallway or wherever it may be on the phone, I always try to encourage you to be well. You know, take care of yourselves, take care of your family. And the person that is going to be interjected into this video here is an expert both in physical wellness, in mental wellness, and spiritual wellness. And I hope you enjoy those video clips. So, personal wellness. I believe that there's 3 forms of personal wellness. There is the mental, the physical, and the spiritual. I'm not an expert in any of those, which is why I have Dr. Carl Totten here with me today. I believe Dr. Totten is an expert in all 3, and I know by reading about him and listening to him speak on podcasts that he's a very humble person, and he's not going to probably brag about himself, but if I can have a few seconds to brag about him. Dr. Totten received his doctorate in psychology from Pepperdine, and has taught at 5 different universities and colleges, and has worked as a clinical psychologist in hospitals and schools and universities and private practice. And on top of that, he is also, I believe, still a 9th degree black belt in the martial arts. He is active in jiu-jitsu and karate and qigong and other martial arts, and he's trained under grandmasters and their disciples. And lastly, as he said about himself in the introduction, he is an ordained Taoist priest. So, but today specifically, we're going to talk about wellness and how we in the military and as first responders can better take care of ourselves. So, Dr. Totten, I am very grateful that you're here spending some time with us today and to help us take care of ourselves.
I'm very pleased to be here. And you know, one of the things I often say about stress, it can often be compared to a barrel of water. And so the water inside the barrel would be all of the stressors, all of the things that happen in your daily lives, all the things you see online or in the news, all the events that are going on in society, as well as all the things from your own personal history. Not all of us, grew up in conditions that were idyllic. There may have been difficulties with other kids, with other adults, God forbid any abuse or traumatic situations, but all of that is part of the barrel. And so here we all are walking around, little barrels filled with stressors, and at a certain point, the stressors begin to spill out of the barrel, and that's called symptoms. Mental symptoms, inability to focus, mental tension, emotional symptoms, anxiety, depression, things like that, being really irritable, and physical symptoms, when the body begins to break down. And so we have the stressors in the barrel, like water overflowing, but we also have the barrel, which is our physical body and our brains. And our physical body and our brain and our emotional systems can also break and start to leak. And so often the stressors in life we have very little control over. We can't help what's going on out there in the world. If there's conflicts, if there's civil unrest, if there's all sorts of tensions in society, there's relatively little that we can do about that. However, these bodies and our minds, and including our emotions, we can have a great deal of input into how that functions. And so almost everything I'm going to talk about today is how you can use some very simple methods to make sure that your barrel does not crack or leak and that the amount of stressors that are in your barrel don't overwhelm you to the point where you begin to display symptoms.
All right, we're going to jump right into DOCS. DOCS is basically the Climate Assessment Survey. If you've been around the Air Force for a while, that's what it used to be called. For some reason, they put in an acronym to it. Now it's DOCS. So when I present this information, we always have to consider the audience or the people who are feeding this information into a system that's spitting out the answers. So obviously the audience, the people who are participating in this were you guys, but I wanted to give you an idea of how many people actually responded to the Climate Assessment Survey. So of about 280 people we have assigned to the squadron between the AGRs and the TRs, we had 43 completed surveys, and one was left uncompleted. Somebody started and probably had something to do or got interrupted or something like that. So of you 43 who completed the survey, I appreciate it. I appreciate your thoughtfulness and the time you took to go in and put this data in so that we or squadron leadership can sit down and assess what's going on in the squadron and create, shift fire basically, create a way forward for us and try to make our squadron better. And percentage-wise, it's 15.3% of the squadron. So not very much of the squadron, but we will, take it for what it's worth. We'll assess the data and we'll move forward. So let me go over some of the concerning issues that I took and that we took, because I sat down with the first sergeant and Major McManus and the chief, and we assessed these items. We talked about a lot of things. Let me throw some information at you. 47% of the squadron say that discipline is not administered fairly. What we're doing about that is that the senior NCOs and the officers in the squadron are going to sit down and discuss administering discipline, how we're going to make sure it's fair and consistent across the board, and we're going to have some training on that. 40% say that opportunities are not fairly distributed. There's no, as a leader, as a squadron leader, I don't put any more focus on TRs than I do AGRs, or vice versa. I know I've heard some rumblings about, TRs get all this or AGRs get all this. When it comes to opportunities, it is my intent to make sure that anything that pops up, we submit AGR names to, and we submit TR names to, and you guys equally get the same opportunity for these training opportunities and classes and things such as that. Sometimes there are money problems that we run into, such as right now, the wing has put basically a moratorium on spending any ADOS money. So we had some 7-level classes come down for opportunity. We cannot put any TRs on orders using ADOS money. So we were limited in that aspect. We were limited to only use our O&M money to bring our AGRs to the 7-level classes. So by the time you see this, they might have already gone and come back from the 7-level class. So one of the biggest, most concerning areas that we saw as leadership were the experiences that females are having in our squadron. This hurt to read, this hit home, this hit hard. Just to go over some of the things. Females are having bad experiences in the following areas. Squadron commitment, their views on senior leadership, females' views on the squadron's overall performance, on group unity, working as a team, trust in leadership, organizational processes, inclusion, feeling included into the team. They have negative experiences, you females have negative experiences with discrimination. Unfortunately, sexual harassment, sexual assault prevention, and sexual assault retaliation. Some stats we got back were that the leadership response to sex assault related incidents was overall pretty good. I mean, it was an 84% positivity rate ultimately. Obviously, we're aiming for 100. We want everyone in this squadron to be confident that the leadership is going to respond appropriately in these circumstances. 84% could obviously be improved, and we're going to work on that. 79% say leadership is taking preventative measures to prevent sex assault and sexual harassment. And only 66% say that there is no retaliation for reporting sex assault and sex harassment. It should be 100%, obviously. No retaliation. So there is something happening in our squadron. There's a perception or a realism or a culture, something that's leading our females, part of our team, part of our Security Forces Defender family, to believe that there is a negative tone of sexual harassment, that females are not being treated as part of the team, and that it's okay to joke around and to ultimately sexually harass or even sexually assault females, and that's going to change. 28% fear reprisal if that identifies discrimination. 29% say sexist or racial slurs are used at work. We are all leaders. We're all adults. We're all defenders. We're all Security Forces defenders. If someone next to you, whether you're on post or walking down the street or anywhere you are, and if somebody next to you uses racial slurs or uses sexist slurs, you have to stand up and say something. You have to be the leader. You can't wait for somebody else to address this. Or, the minute the minute you don't respond to that is the minute that it becomes okay to say those things. And we all have to step up and take a stand and fight back against people who are saying this stuff. Number one, you got to correct them. And number two, help us help you by letting your leadership know that this is a problem. 20% of females have had unwanted sexual related experience in the squadron. 20% of females. This is a theme that is going to get reversed. And to address these items, how does a 280-person organization change from having an environment of suppression and disrespect to one of encouragement and professionalism and support? Number one, I think that we have to acknowledge that a problem exists. Number two, I think we have to talk about it and expose the roots of why these problems exist. And number three, we have to be the catalyst for change. The people that make up the culture of our unit are us. Everybody watching this video, me, the other squadron leadership. The unit doesn't exist without us. So we make up the culture of this unit. And so what we're going to do about this is I want to hear from all the females in our squadron. You're going to find in the next couple weeks, hopefully probably sooner to when you watch this video, I'm going to send a message out along with Chief Master Sergeant Ratliff, who is our group Chief Master Sergeant. We are inviting all the females in our squadron and you'll get the message as to the day, the time, and the location, to sit down and have an open discussion, an open female-only discussion, and I'll be the only male and the only, as your squadron commander in there, to listen to what you guys have to say, to identify problems, to tell me about things that have happened, or themes, or rumors, or just identify the roots of what's going on, because we can't correct the problem unless we get to those roots and we identify a way forward to make life better for you guys and to make us a more cohesive team where there is mutual respect and professionalism in our squadron. So I look forward to speaking to you all females. Again, we're going to have Chief Master Sergeant Ratliff there, and that's coming here pretty soon. All right, in addition, 40% know someone in the squadron who thought of suicide. 40% of the people in our squadron know someone in our squadron who thought of suicide. 44% say there's low morale. How do we counter that? There's lots of ways, and we're going to talk about them. How do we address personal wellness? How do we increase the morale and the thoughts of suicide in our squadron? There are several ways, but the first way that I can think of is personal wellness. It starts with you as a person. Each and every single one of us need to make sure that we are in the right place, both in our lives and when we come to work. We have to have a clear mind. We have to be able to think clearly, respond appropriately, respond with a clear frame of mind, and that takes having a positive outlook on your day-to-day life. Being okay with where you are and what your plans are for your life, and what your plans are for every day when you wake up. And number two, your physical wellness. Your PT. I know it's incredibly difficult right now. We have people working 12-hour shifts. You go home, and some of you might have loved ones that are out of work, and you're worried and stressed about money, and you have to, you wake up, you feed the kids, take them to daycare, you get home from work, you're tired, you still have to feed the kids, get them to bed. By that time, when are you going to work out? We have to create a routine, and we have to emphasize the importance of taking care of yourself so that you can take care of all your responsibilities around you. Hence the videos that I am interjecting this video with Dr. Totten. Just a couple more things. 58% feel a lack of inclusion at work. 36% say there's a lack of communication down and up the chain. 33% say senior leaders lack a process for sharing information. Here's what I'm going to do to change that. Starting the first quarter, starting January of 2021, I want a volunteer from each shift, from each flight, as well as from staff, to every quarter sit with me, and we're going to call it the Airmen's Representative Group, the Airmen's Rep Group. And what you're going to do when you come and you sit with me and we have some FaceTime and we talk around the table is you're going to bring the questions or concerns from the people that you represent, basically your flight members. You're going to represent them and ask the questions that they sent to you with me, just straight to me. I'll either provide the best answer that I can or get the answer to those questions, and we'll provide you the answer, number one. And number two, we're going to document all this stuff. We're going to document the questions, we're going to document the answers, and we're going to shoot it out to the entire squadron. So everybody can read what are the concerns of the airmen, what are the answers from the leadership, and everybody's going to be on the same page, hopefully clearing up some communication issues and clearing up what we're doing in the squadron. Number two, we have a Defenders Association Facebook group, but what we're going to do is we're going to have a squadron Facebook group now as well. We're going to share accomplishments. We're going to discuss awards and showcase some of the hard work that we're doing. We're going to go out to posts and we're going to interview people. The Scoop Award, the shirt can come out and talk to you, and we're going to create more of a connectedness in our squadron by doing this. Opportunities, training opportunities. We can throw them on this Facebook private group, and you can hear about it right away, from our training office. So again, new security forces information, when we get the weapons, just a lot of information, a lot of good information that we can share clearly, straight from me or straight from your leadership. And who knows what this is going to expand to, but unfiltered, straight from the leadership of our squadron, and we can share information, and we can celebrate all the good work that you guys do. and maybe we can do some fun things with it too. So I look forward to that. All right, that was a lot from the deox, and I know it was with your help that we've identified a few things that definitely need to be reversed. And hopefully I was able in this environment to briefly discuss how we plan on reversing those things. I need input from you. I need this Airmen's Rep group. I need to sit down with the females in our squadron. We're going to put this Facebook thing together, and hopefully we can start seeing some better, more clear communication, some higher standards upheld throughout the squadron, some more professionalism, some more mutual respect. And I look forward to turning this ship in the right direction. So with that, another wellness clip from Dr. Totten, and enjoy the video.
I think probably the single most important skill that you can learn right now is to learn how to breathe properly. Now, everybody knows how to breathe. You don't have to even think about it. But not everybody knows how to breathe correctly. The incorrect way to breathe, which is the way that most people actually breathe, is high and shallow off the top of your lungs. And so you can see most people when they're breathing, you can actually see their chest rising and falling. But every person who studies yoga or martial arts or meditation, in the Far East learns how to breathe, not like that, but how to do deep abdominal breathing. It's called diaphragmatic breathing, because the diaphragm, which is a muscle here across our midsection, separates kind of the abdominal cavity and the chest. It has to descend in order to allow the chest to expand. But if you allow it to descend even further by doing what I'm going to show you right now, which is imagining that you actually have a balloon in your stomach, so that when you inhale, that balloon expands, and when you exhale, that balloon contracts. And as that balloon expands, your abdomen will go out, and then at the end of that inhalation cycle, then your chest will begin to go up. But if you just start up here, just inhaling here, you don't have that full range of breathing. That leads to anxiety, by the way, because if you've ever had anxiety, and we've all had that, how do you start to breathe? Right? Quick, shallow. You start to even hyperventilate, particularly if you start to have a panic attack. And so you can actually stop a panic attack or any state of anxiety just by syncing your breath, extending your stomach, and allowing all of your mental thoughts to just go down. The next thing is every one of us has a brain, and our brain is filled with thoughts and or images. Okay? Scientific research, psychological research has shown that a lot of the things that go through our brains and come out of our mouths are actually fairly negative. They've measured the things that husbands and wives say to each other, what parents say to children, what teachers say to children, and a high percentage of them have a somewhat negative tone. Oh, stop that. Oh, don't do that. Oh, no, that's not right. No, you can't do that now. Oh, don't touch that. It's negative, and it adds up. It builds up, and that affects us greatly. And I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to let you prove it to yourself. Okay? I'm going to say one word, and all I want you to do is to listen. Maybe close your eyes so you can just kind of tune in to how this one word makes you feel. Ready? Close your eyes. No. 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 Okay, let that go. Keep your eyes closed. Let's try something else. Yes. 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 Okay, open your eyes. Did you notice the difference? I bet you did. And so just think if at conscious, not to mention subconscious levels, you're walking around all day and all night when you're asleep saying some version of no, or I'm not good enough, something negative. What is that doing to your mind, your emotional system, and your physical body? Nothing good, I guarantee you. So if you can just make that simple shift from a no set to what I call a yes set, your mental health and physical well-being will begin to rise measurably. And it's free, it doesn't cost a dime, and it's a lot better for you than all those medications that we seem to be increasingly addicted to here in Western society. Take any prescription that you have and read the label. I dare you. You know, half of the times what's on those labels is maybe as bad, if not worse, than what it's trying to treat. You know, and there's something not correct about that. Where if you do a lot of these very simple methods, learning how to breathe, learning how to think in a positive manner, you will eliminate the necessity of you having to take as many medications, and certainly very often you'll be able to reduce the dosage, even if it's a medication that your physicians know that you need in order for your health and survival. But you can help your physicians by doing your part. And your part involves what are you doing every day? You know, the Chinese have a word for this daily practice. They call it a gong, G-O-N-G in English. That word means work. And so they say we have to have a daily practice, a daily work, if you will, that teaches us to have what? New habits. Every human being on planet Earth is a creature of habits. The way that you've been thinking, talking to yourself, the emotions that you've been experiencing, the things your physical body has been doing correctly or incorrectly, your dreams, your conscious and subconscious, all of that that's been going on in your mind, body, and emotional system for your entire life are your habits. And you know what? If you don't change your habits, I guarantee you 100% you are not going to be able to make any real long-standing changes in your life. You might change something for an hour, a day or two, but it's not going to be really imprinted in your system unless it becomes a new habit. How do you develop a new habit? There's only one way that I know. Practice. Practice. Proper, correct practice. What most of us do, of course, we're practicing all day and all night, 24/7, 365 days a year. And what are we practicing? Our old habits that we've had for years and years and years. And then we wonder, why are we not thinking any better? Why aren't we feeling better? Why aren't we happier? Why are we so anxious? Why are we so depressed? Why does our body have these chronic conditions and maybe even chronic illnesses that have been plaguing us for our entire life? But because we haven't done anything differently. That's why. It's actually very simple. Fortunately, it's also simple to begin to change your habits. There's only one thing you have to do. Two things you have to do. One, you have to know what to do. And two, you have to do it. How often? Every day.
All right, welcome back. In this next segment, I'm going to talk about some of the amazing work that I've witnessed you guys do since I got here in July. Just to name a few things, in September we had Air Force Reserve Command S4 Shop come down and do an anti-terror program staff assistance visit. They went through absolutely everything you can think of with Sergeant Armstrong, went through our program and helped us develop a way forward so that we can have a solid anti-terrorism program established in our squadron and in our wing. Number two, we had 5 days of Global Thunder. Everybody here was involved, thank you. We also had 31 traditional reservists to support the mission. I appreciate the time that you put into that. I know it was a lot, it was a huge learning curve for some of you, but we did absolutely outstanding. We had exercise injects, we had real world emergencies, and we handled them all perfectly. So I thank you very much. You guys did an outstanding job. We had 2 wing level active shooter exercises. Again, we handled it perfectly. You guys are on top of your game. You know what you're doing, and I appreciate it. Let's keep up the good work. 2 presidential support missions, including an off-site security mission at John Wayne International Airport. It's a great day for security when we don't hear a peep from anybody. That means we're doing our job. We're keeping the bad guys away. There's no concerns. We're meeting the requirements. And again, you guys are spot on. Just this last weekend, before this recording here, I got a call. I think it was like 3:30 in the morning. We had a 5150 at the gate. Ended up being a suspicious device in the back of the car. We got RSO to come. We shut down Cactus Avenue. So it was a pretty serious bomb threat. That's never a good thing, but the good thing is if there's a silver lining to it, and it did happen at 3 o'clock in the morning on the weekend, and we took care of business. So excellent job handling that. It was flawless. We've had 4 overall since I got here, 5150s. We've handled 4 DUIs, 6 traffic accident responses, 7 gate runners, and 7 damage to government property calls. So you guys are extremely busy day in and day out, and that's just the extra stuff. Just defending the base day in and day out, standing posts and making sure the right people are coming in on base, etc. You guys work extremely hard. We dealt with 115-degree temperatures, or probably even higher. We dealt with fires and the air quality being horrible. You guys do an outstanding job with all the things that you're dealing with, on top of COVID, on top of the 12-hour shifts, on top of randomly people being told to ROM because of coronavirus. So all of that, I greatly appreciate it. Your leadership greatly appreciates it. And the mission would not be accomplished without you. With that, we do have some people that stood out for third quarter awards. And I know I emailed who the award winners were, but just because it was recent, I'd like to take a second to congratulate the Airman of the third quarter, Senior Airman Jorge Valdez, the NCO of the third quarter, Tech Sergeant Edmondson. The Senior NCO is Master Sergeant John Schultz, and the civilian of the third quarter is Officer Ed Humphreys. Congratulations, good job, well deserved. And for those of you who are shooting for fourth quarter or annual awards, we've got to get our packages into the first sergeant by 7 January. So good luck with that. A lot of very deserving defenders out there, and CSS members and civilians. All right, with that, let's jump over to clip number 3 from Dr. Totten. So, Dr. Totten, let's put this into a real world circumstance, right? Let's just say, for example, we have firefighters, we have nurses, police officers, security forces.
Yes.
We had a stressful day, right? We had a stressful day. It's been 12 hours. You just want to go home. Can you give us an example of what might be a negative habit that continues, as you said, to reinforce the stresses in our life that pile on top of each other and ultimately overflow the barrel with water, right?
Yes.
And then give us an example, if you can, of something that we can do to change that habit and create a positive habit, so that we can, over long periods of time, reduce our stresses and have more control over our response to negative situations.
Well, I'm sure we can all come up with our own collection of what we might do when we come home from a stressful day and we think about what are the negative habits that we might put into play.
Right.
Well, of course, at the extreme, although very common, some people will drink, right? Sometimes to excess. Some people will take drugs. We all know about the national opioid crisis that's killing thousands and thousands of people every year. Many people will just plant themselves in front of the TV and just kind of zone out mentally, right? Yep. Some people will just kind of go home, eat or overeat and drink and maybe take drugs, And none of
this is obviously healthy.
Well, I haven't said a healthy thing yet.
Right. I mean,
these are the
physically
problems.
your body deteriorates from this. So.
Yeah, all those things are going to lead to increased problems that then after a while would become what? Chronic. Right? So instead, when you come home, what I suggest you do, number one, your day has been hectic. So what's the first thing you need to do? Stop, slow down. Just sit quietly, put your feet on the ground. You want your back straight. Remember we talked about breathing? Take 3 to 5 of those deep breaths, imagining there's a balloon in your stomach. Close your eyes and say to yourself, yes, yes, yes. Within 10 seconds, if you start to do that deep diaphragmatic breathing and say yes to yourself, your parasympathetic nervous system will begin to come online. And that sympathetic, that stress system that you've been hooked into all day will begin to recede. Now, research has shown something really interesting. When you are under stress and you're keyed up and your blood pressure has gone up and you start to hyperventilate, you know what happens in your brain? Your prefrontal cortex, where you do all your creative thinking, your intelligent thinking, it actually goes offline. You literally can't think anymore, you know, and it starts to narrow like this, like a horse with blinders, so you can't even see all the options that are actually available to you. So unless you stop that immediately, you start to go down the wrong road, which then creates another negative bad habit. So you want to just stop, deep breaths, close your eyes, say yes. Now, while you're sitting there saying these nice things to yourself and trying to relax, guess what's going to come into your mind very often?
Negative thoughts.
Negative thoughts.
That's right.
And so what can you do with those negative thoughts? Well, let me give you a couple of tools. One of them is called a bubble. In your mind, you see that negative thought, or it might even be a negative feeling, maybe kind of butterflies in your stomach, or tension in your neck or shoulders. How many of us feel that? Millions. And what you do is you imagine that negative thought or feeling or sensation in a bubble. And then in your mind's eye, you just imagine that bubble just like going up onto the surface of a lake. You imagine that bubble going up and then going pop and just disappearing. And then you go, oh, there's another negative thought. And you put it in a bubble and you just watch it go up and poof, and it just dissipates. Oh, I got kind of a soreness, stiff shoulder here. Put that in a bubble and just bubble it up and watch it disappear. That simple exercise from cognitive therapy using visual imagery will instantly teach your body and mind how to let go and relax, how to let go of distressing thoughts, images, and sensations in your body. Now, let me go over just a couple of more things, in the time we have left here, about how to take care of yourself. We're here in this beautiful spot in nature, here in this beautiful canyon, and one of the most powerful skills that you can implement is that. We call it a safe place. And what you do, you do that deep breathing, maybe you say yes to yourself, and then you close your eyes and you imagine that you are in a beautiful place in nature. Think about some place that you've been. It could be in a forest, a park, a garden, an island, by the river, by the ocean, any place that you just love to be, or maybe would love to have been if you've never gone. And what you want to do is close your eyes and imagine that you're in this place to the best of your ability. You want to use your imagination, imagery, and motion. Because you know what? Your brain doesn't know the difference. You're going to kind of trick your brain into believing you're in a beautiful spot in nature. And as your body and brain and emotional brain begin to acclimate to that scene inside your head, all of the indicators of stress and tension and worry start to decrease, and that parasympathetic nervous system, the relaxation response, comes online. And all the tension that you might have been carrying all day long, all month long, all year long, begins to recede. That is the basis of self-care, learning how to regulate your own emotions on a daily basis. It's not enough to just do this, every few weeks, once a month, because we're all creatures of what? Habits, right?
That's right.
And what's a habit? Something you do all the time, right? And so we have to do this all the time. Now, I want to go over one more skill because it's powerful, and I think it's so important because it's easy and it's free. I like powerful, easy, and free. Many of you probably have heard about Chinese medicine, acupuncture, where the acupuncture doctors put needles in different points in your body. They put needles in points that are said to regulate the flow of energy. Chinese medicine is based on energy flowing in the body. Now, scientists, particularly quantum physics, knows that this entire universe is composed of what? Energy, right? And so are we. We're part of the universe. And the Chinese, a few thousand years ago, I don't know how they figured this out actually, they knew that energy was running through the body, particularly going to all the internal organs. Heart, lungs, spleen, kidney. They identified 12 major organs that have energy flowing through it. And in their opinion, in Chinese medicine and acupuncture, The reason people get sick is because the energy gets stuck, stagnant, blocked, or reverses, goes in the wrong direction. And so that's how they learn how to cure or improve physical ailments. But all of those organs also have emotions associated with them. And so one of my teachers, who I studied with for over 10 years, a psychologist named Dr. Roger Callahan, he was the first one to figure out that you don't have to put a needle in these acupuncture points. If you just tap on certain points, you actually will get the energy flowing, and whatever emotion was trapped or stuck in your system will begin to dissipate, okay? And so I'm going to show you how to do some simple tapping, basically for stress, tension, and trauma.
All right, welcome back. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the wing mission, our mission, and who am I? Your new squadron commander. What are my priorities in our squadron to align us with our squadron vision, and how are we going to accomplish that vision? How are we going to work towards achieving what we want to do? So first, the wing mission. I'm big on mission statements and vision statements, core values, things such as that. But the wing mission statement is to train and deploy citizen airmen in support of global mobility operations. The vision statement is the premier total force air mobility wing serving worldwide. And their core values for the wing are inclusion, compliance, accountability, respect, and excellence. I like to pick apart statements, kind of highlight the key words, because it's really hard to look at a huge sentence of all these key words and try to put it into, okay, what does that mean for us? So the key words that I picked out of all that are train, deploy, support mobility operations. We train, we deploy, and we support mobility operations. Again, remember, this is the wing. So the vision is to be the premier total force and serve worldwide. Now, trickle down to our squadron, right? Our squadron mission statement is to enable citizen airmen while protecting, defending, and fighting in support of local and global operations. Vision statement is to organize, train, and equip mission-ready, air-minded security forces supporting joint and total force operations. Again, let's just pick out the key words here. Focus on, what is this asking us to do? What is this telling us to do? Why are we here? I picked out 3. The first one is enable. Enable the airmen. Number 2, defend. Defend the base. Number 3, mission ready. It is our charge to be ready to fight whatever mission is asked of us, is demanded of us at any moment. Mission ready. As squadron commander, how do I see that we're going to accomplish that mission? What decisions am I going to make? What direction, what guidelines am I going to use in my decision making? So the decisions, the resources, and efforts that your squadron leadership are going to use, are going to focus on to be in line with that mission and to accomplish those 3 things: enable, defend, and be mission ready. First, enable. Enable is to allow our airmen the flexibility and freedoms to do their job the best way that they know how. Don't stand in their way of becoming the best defenders that they can be. We train them. We train them to be defenders. We train them. When I say them, I mean you. We train you to be defenders. We train you to be leaders. Allow you to be the leader that you know how to be and the defender that you know how to be. So enable you. Do your job the way that you were trained, but do it your way. Encourage defender growth. Again, this is part of the enable umbrella. Encourage defender growth. Take on new tasks. We want you to step up and be the leader, like I said, that you can be in your own way. Try new techniques. Assume more responsibility. Step up and see if you can be an assistant program manager to somebody. Be the sole program manager for something that you see that we're missing. Come up with your new ideas. Be the leader that you can be. And lastly, my thought under the enable umbrella is knowledge is power. We need to we talked about this in the DEOX conversation, but we need to communicate up and down. Number one, I don't know if we're doing a good enough job for you all communicating what's going on at the leadership level, the decisions that we're making that affect the entire squadron. We need to communicate it more clearly all the way down to the lowest ranking person in our squadron. But that said, we leaders need to be able to build a communication channel for those of you also at the lower ranking end of the squadron, which hopefully is what this Airmen's Rep group is going to do. It's going to give you immediate access to me and to your leadership to sit down around the table, and I want to hear your questions and I want to hear your concerns, and unfiltered. So this is your opportunity, and this is our opportunity to hear that and correct things in our squadron. Number two, I'm going to focus on defending the base. As part of our mission statement, defend is obviously a key word for us. It's a key action for us as security forces. It's what we do. My focus and my decision making and putting our efforts and energy and resources will go into defending this base and being the harder target. We need to strengthen integrated defense from the inside out, all layers. We also need to develop a current, targeted, risk management-based anti-terrorism program. Sergeant Armstrong has done a lot of work, a lot of groundwork. He's gone through a lot of training to get us to a point now where we can, and as I speak today, we're collecting a lot of data from different functional areas throughout base to try to identify our risks, our vulnerabilities, and focus our efforts around the base to try to make us a harder target. Lastly, mission ready. My charge to you all is to make sure that you and those around you, especially if you're a leader, those people who are assigned to you, to be mission ready. And what does that mean? It means be ready to fight tonight. Whatever's asked for us, whether it's law enforcement or securing our aircraft, or some of you, if something comes down, unfortunately, and we have to deploy ASAP, you're ready to fight tonight. So how do we do that? Personal wellness. There's that wellness thing again. You have to be ready to go. You have to be ready to take the fight to whatever the threat is. And again, I need you physically ready, mentally ready, and for most of us, spiritually ready. That's a large part of our lives. So also, I think readiness, it's built into our AFIs, and I know that we all want to get back to it, but coronavirus is making it very difficult to do that. But 8-hour shifts makes us more ready, and that's been proven. Regardless of how many of you say that you like the 12-hour shifts and the 3 on and the 3 off, 8-hour shifts makes us more present, makes us more aware, and makes us more fresh to start every day when we wake up, as opposed to starting the day very tired from, just getting off a 12-hour shift yesterday. So we're also gonna focus on being mission ready by increasing our training. We're going to increase the frequency of our training, the realism of our training, and the value of our training by increasing those things such as frequency and realism. So I don't want to sit behind desks. I don't want to make you sit behind desks. We don't learn that way. We check the boxes that way. We can read, and some of us learn by reading, but most of us learn by hands-on. We learn through experiences. Unfortunately, we learn through failure. I don't want to get back into my experience as a police officer, but I learned a lot through doing, unfortunately, the wrong thing, or making a decision and having it be the wrong decision, or decisions that could have been better. I remember some of the training that I went through, some very high-speed training. I will never forget how awesome that training was. It was extremely difficult, but I learned the most from that very, very difficult training. So I want to bring that thought process in training and bring it to this squadron. So look forward to that. And I also want to join you in that training. Through all of this training and all these things that I'm focusing on, with these new groups and these new discussion and the Facebook and better communication and training, I think that ultimately we're going to see better team cohesion, and we're also going to see better leadership skills. We're going to see things that make a difference in our subordinates' lives, for those of you that have airmen, and things that make a difference in our lives by focusing on things that make a difference. Let's have a targeted effort on what we're going to do to make this squadron better. All right, you have a new commander, me, Major Thomas Sebastiani. What are my expectations of you? You know, out on post checks, some of you have already asked me that question. So I foot stomp these two things everywhere I go when I talk about this. Professionalism. Nobody else in this world besides security forces are defenders. You know, when we look at basketball players or we look at accountants or other jobs out there, they're professionals at their job. There's no one else that does the job better than them. So what I expect of you is to be the professional. Be a professional security forces defender. If you think that there's a better way to get it done, if you could have gotten what you done, if you could have gotten what you just did, I'm stumbling over my words. Be a security forces professional. If there's a better way to do it, you're the professional. You have to get it done that way. Our leadership is here to help guide you, to mentor you, to train you, but you are the professional. So my expectation to you is that you learn the best way to do things and you do it. You are the professional security forces defender. Mutual respect. This goes back to things that I've already talked about in this commander's call. I don't care what your rank is. I don't care what your background is, or how much money you make in your civilian life, or what your religion is, or any of that stuff. We treat each other as humans, as adults, and respect each other's opinions, and don't at all put anyone down with your comments. I mean, going back to the comments where we use sexist and racial slurs, that is unacceptable. That it needs to come up to our level so that we can help get rid of that. But I expect you all to squash it when you hear it. So mutual respect and professionalism. And lastly, readiness. Readiness touches all subjects, whether it's readiness in your job, as far as job knowledge, whether it's readiness as far as physically, being able to respond, you know, if you're carrying a heavy weapon, being able to run 50 yards with it or 100 yards with it, so that you can respond to fire, things like that. Readiness mentally and physically and spiritually and in training. So there's all different types of readiness. And obviously we all know the daily readiness things like IMR, getting your flu shot and, you know, things like that. So my expectations for you, to narrow it down, professionalism, mutual respect, and readiness. And as a leader, turn the spotlight on me, what I strive to be as a leader. If I can narrow it down to the elements, I strive to be compassionate, to be humble, and to be consistent. I think that I owe that to every one of you as your commander, as your defender brother in this defender family that we have, and as an Air Force officer. Compassionate, humble, and consistent. And I strive to do that every day with every interaction that I have, both on the job, both in my civilian life, and everywhere I go. And as a leader, what I strive to do, what I strive to bring to this squadron, and how I respond to situations, and how I discuss things with people as a leader, I would like to, and I hope I achieve this, provide a foundation of a common vision. Cultivate ownership in you all, not by giving orders, but by asking questions. And lastly, to strive not to increase your burdens, but to diminish your burdens. And a little bit about me. You know, like I said, I've gone out. I've talked to the TRs at your guard mounts. I've gone to a few guard mounts for the AGRs. Done a lot of post checks. So we've had some conversations. But as a whole, I haven't really talked to anybody yet in this kind of setting. You know, so just a little bit about me, just so you're aware, if you care. I grew up in the Philadelphia area. Went to Penn State. Got my undergraduate degree there in criminal justice, or administration of justice is what they called it. I wanted to jump into a leadership position. I felt like I could make a difference, and I always had an interest in the military. So from there, I went over to OTS and got my commissioning through OTS. And in March 2001, I became a second lieutenant, and I jumped right into the world of security forces. In security forces, I've been a flight commander, in law enforcement, in airfield operations, in missile field. I've been the OIC of training. I've been an executive officer for a group, Security Forces Commander. I've been a TR commander twice prior to this in different squadrons out in Colorado, and I was deployed as an ops officer. I have two boys, 11 and 15 years old. They're bouncing back and forth between Colorado and here, and I am happily engaged to my girlfriend, Catherine. So personally, I like, I like to stay active. I'm big on wellness, as you have seen, but I enjoy running. I always have. I picked up swimming about 10 years ago, and biking. I've been biking most of my life, but kind of doing it competitively for the past 10 years. And I do strength training when I can. So altogether, I raced in triathlons for about 8 years, mostly off-road, and if you guys are aware, the Xterra circuit. And that was a lot of fun, and I've seen a lot of success in that. I also owned an endurance racing company for about 4 years, and then I sold off my main couple of races there back in 2014 when I came back into the Air Force as a reserve officer. So ultimately, I did 6 years active, 6 years as a TR, and now about 5 months as an AGR. After my active duty service, I was an officer, a police officer for Lakewood Police Department outside of Denver for almost 12 years, about 11 and a half years, all in patrol division. I had a lot of fun. I had no interest in being a detective or a sergeant or anything like that. I enjoyed the brotherhood of everybody that I worked with. I enjoyed the fact that our lives depended on those around us. Our teamwork had to be perfect, right? And I enjoyed my time there. But after I deployed, I realized that kind of this is where my heart is. And when I came back from my deployment, I looked around and landed here. So I'm very happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to my next several years with you guys. All right, with that, let's go over to this last clip from Dr. Totten.
And Dr. Callahan spent the next 30 years experimenting with different acupuncture points for healing and getting people emotionally better for all kinds of conditions. So let's go over the sequence of points that he identified really work powerfully for stress, tension, anxiety, particularly that based on trauma, okay? Which of course is very widespread. So the first point we're going to work on, this line here that we all have on the palm. If you go to the side of the hand here, there's an acupuncture point, and all I want you to do is tap it. Now, let's actually try this. In your mind, think about something that's bothering you. Not something really big, just something, because I'm not there to help you through it. But something maybe annoying that just bothers you a little bit. Just think about that. Now, and then rate on a scale of like from 0 to 10, how strong is that feeling right now? Maybe it's 4 or 5. Maybe somebody, was driving bad on the freeway and you got really upset at them. Maybe you're up at a 9 or a 10. Just rate it, okay? I want you to rate it because I want to see if it gets better when we tap. So let's say it's a 7. Okay, so first I want you to tap this point. It can be right hand or left hand, or even both. We say karate chop it. That way you get them both. And you do that for about 10 seconds, just like that. This is a correction point. If there's anything that might block this from working, this will correct the block. That's why we like to do this first. And then, now thinking about what that thing was that caused that scale to go up to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just hold that in your mind, and right here at the beginning of your eyebrow, I want you just to tap. You can tap right, left, or both. Doesn't really matter. While you think about that thing that you just measured. 8 or 10 taps is enough. Next, I want you to tap here on the side of your eye. Again, 8 or 10 times while you think about what it was that was upsetting you. Next, right under your eye, and again, it could be one eye or both. Remember, this is that stomach point that Mary tapped. All right. Next point is right under your, I'll use this one, your arm, maybe about 6 inches underneath your armpit. Just tap it. You can tap one or the other or even both like that. So just tap. And the final point is right here. If you go to your pit of your throat, go down an inch, go over an inch to either side. You're right under the collarbone. It's actually a point on the kidney channel in Chinese medicine. And I want you just to tap on that. Okay, let's repeat that one more time. So, again, think about something that upsets you just a little bit, measure it, and tap here on the side of your hand. That's point number 1. Point number 2, the beginning of the eyebrow. Point number 3, the side of the eye. Point number 4, under the eye. Point number 5, right under the armpit. And lastly, point number 6, collarbone. One or the other or both. Take a deep breath. Now, just kind of check out your body right now and ask yourself, how do I feel? That scale from 0 to 10, if it was 7, 8, 9, did it go down at least 2 points, in your subjective opinion? It should have. It really should have, okay? And if it did, now we can actually go on to the final thing we're going to do for today. There's another acupuncture point right here between your ring and kind of little finger, about ½ an inch up here on the back of your hand. I want you just to tap that point like this. And as you do, I want you to look across the room at the floor, and I want you to slowly move your eyes up to the ceiling, twice. And as your eyes go up to the ceiling, I want you to imagine whatever thing you were upset about, imagine it just like that bubble going up and just poof, dissipating. And I want you to do that twice with each hand. Tap the other hand, it's called floor to ceiling eye roll. And imagine whatever upset you had in your mind, imagine it just kind of going up like a bubble and just poof, dissipating. Take a deep breath. Now, just kind of check into your body and see how you feel. I bet that for many of you, probably even most of you, whatever your tension level was, 7, 8, 9, 10, I bet you now it's down below 5 for many of you, probably for most of you. Here's a really quick way of self-treatment that you can do to restore yourself back to a more level position. Because if you go through life, day in and day out with your mind, your emotions, and your body in a state of tension, something negative is going to happen to you. You're going to have an emotional disturbance, a mental illness, or a physical ailment, or all 3 of them. We don't want that. We want you to learn how to take care of yourselves, because you particularly have responsibilities. You're taking care of the base, you're taking care of other people, you have families, you have big responsibilities. And if you start to break down, you're not going to be able to take care of all these other people who are depending on you. So you have to be the bright light in life now that you have some skills and better knowledge about how to take care of yourself in a healthy way.
Well, that's great. I appreciate everything that you've shared with us. I know I'm going to go home and practice these. Excellent. Just sitting here for the 3 minutes that you walked us through it, I can definitely feel a tingling, kind of like just a relaxation, just come over the body. So
that's energy flowing.
Right. So I'm gonna. He gave me some brochures, a booklet, and I'm gonna read through more of it, and I have it to share with you guys. If you're interested, you can just come over by my office or ask me to email it to you, and I'll do that. But overall, as far as just going back to the topic of the day is wellness. Again, I end most conversations with you guys was take care of yourself, take care of your family, and I don't want it to stop at just saying it. I want you guys to be able to do something about it. It's a stressful year. We work in a stressful job. We have stressful careers. God knows deploying and preparing to deploy is stressful, and even returning from deployment is stressful. I just wanted to be able to present you some simple tools and give you just a few minutes to think about the stresses in your life and maybe what you can do to reverse those stresses, or at least reverse the trend. So again, I appreciate you being here. Very wonderful to meet you. Like I said, I've read about you. I've heard you on podcasts, and to be able to finally meet you and have you here talk to our Security Forces Squadron, that's an amazing thing, and I appreciate it. And actually, on behalf of the Security Forces Squadron, I wanted to present you with a token of appreciation. This is a squadron
Thank you,
coin,
sir.
and it's probably something that is not up your alley with
Wow.
being in psychology, but it's a coin of our
Wow.
our M4 weapon there, our rifle, and as well as
Amazing.
a certificate of appreciation here.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. It says certificate of appreciation for Dr. Carl Totten for enhancing the wellness of our airmen.
Yeah. Well, you know, we're all in this together, and if we can learn how to help ourselves and help others in our community, we've done our job.
Absolutely.
That's why we're here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, everybody, welcome back. We're going to have two guests talk for us now. One's Master Sergeant Bish. She's going to talk about Sapper and SARC. And after that, we're going to have Senior Master Sergeant Wilson, our first sergeant, and he's going to talk to you about a few of his important topics. With that, here you go.
Hello everyone, I am Sergeant Bish, and I'm going to brief you on the suicide prevention and the Sapper talking points. We're going to start out with the suicide prevention talking points, and the most important thing I want to discuss is building a connection with your airmen, and if you're a supervisor or on flight, making sure your members are building that connection. So a meaningful connection to others is a valuable tool in the prevention of suicide. Airmen must be active in reaching out both to others who may be in distress and to resources for themselves and others. That is why it's so important for everyone to really understand what the resources are and what some of the warning signs are for suicide prevention. First of all, signs of distress. Stress is a normal part of lives. Everyone goes through stress, sometimes daily. It can look different in everybody, however. So occasionally stressors overwhelm our ability to cope and may result in symptoms and trigger a state of distress. That is what you want to look for, is someone who is in a state of distress. So some of these signs can include mood changes, such as depression or anxiety, irritability, agitation, or anger, difficulties with sleep, either they're getting too much sleep or they're not getting enough sleep, withdrawing from friends, families, and others. That can be very difficult to recognize, especially in the state we are in right now with COVID. Everyone seems to be withdrawing because they need to withdraw. They need to stay further away from people. That is why it is so important to maintain a meaningful connection with those around you, those you work with, your family, your friends, everyone on flight. So please, if you're a supervisor, please reach out to your airmen regularly and start building that meaningful connection with them. One thing I want you to remember, if you do notice an airman who is in distress, I want you to think about ACE. ACE stands for Ask, Care, and Escort. The ask part of this can be very difficult for some people. If you see someone in distress and you are very worried about that person, it's important to ask them flat out if they are considering suicide. That's an uncomfortable conversation to have, and I understand that. So if you are uncomfortable having that conversation with your coworker or your friend or a family member, please reach out to someone who is comfortable and ask that person to talk to them for you. Care for that person, sit with that person, talk to them, ask follow-up questions. Don't just accept their answer right away at face value. Talk to them and ask more questions. And escort. Don't ever leave that person alone, especially if they say they are contemplating suicide. Escort them to someone who can help them right away. If you can't physically get that person to go with you, that's okay. Call someone in to help you. Okay, so that concludes the suicide prevention talking points. The next thing we're going to talk about are the Sapper talking points for this quarter. What I really want to hit on are the unrestricted and the restricted reports. It's very, very important for everyone to know the difference between these two options. So an unrestricted report is investigated and command authorities are notified. A restricted report is confidential, It is not investigated and can be made to Sexual Assault Response Coordinator, so the local SARC. Can we delete that? Okay. So can be made to Sexual Assault Response Coordinator, the local SARC, who is Frank Pavone here on the base, a SAPR victim advocate, which Frank Pavone can actually give you phone numbers to those victim advocates, or a healthcare provider. Some of the other options for unrestricted reporting would be someone in your chain of command. Obviously, if a person in your chain of command is the aggressor, you obviously don't want to make that report to someone in your chain of command. You do not have to stick within your chain of command. You can go outside. You can skip your chain of command to make an unrestricted report. Okay. So the definition of an unrestricted report is a process by which an individual discloses, without requesting confidentiality or restricted reporting, that they are a victim of sexual assault. An unrestricted report initiates victim support, law enforcement investigation, and command support. Communications with the SARC or SAPR VA are protected by the MRE 514 privilege, absent written permission by the victim or applicable exceptions. Okay, so a restricted report is a reporting option that allows sexual assault victims to confidentially disclose the assault to specific individuals. I want to make it very clear that everyone who is watching this video is not able to take a restricted report. No law enforcement officer can take a restricted report, so please remember that. Make sure everyone, if you're a supervisor, make sure your coworkers, make sure the flights all know that they cannot take a restricted report. So if they hear of something going on flight, or if something happened after or before a UTA, they cannot keep that as restricted. They have to report that. So everyone, please remember, an unrestricted report has to go up through, it will be investigated. A restricted report has to go through the SARC. Available resources for all victims of sexual assault, SARC, advocacy from a SAPR VA or a volunteer VA, Military One Source, Chaplain and Religious Affairs, and the DoD Safe Helpline. Okay, I actually have a magnet that I've taken a picture of. I keep all of these numbers on my phone. There have been numerous times when people have reached out to me asking if I still have the pictures of these magnets on my phone, and I do. I have all of these numbers with me at all times. So if any of you need this magnet or would like a copy of this, reach out to me. I will make sure you get a copy of it. They're great numbers. The Sexual Assault Prevention Program, the SAPR program, is on here. Director of Psychological Health, Elaine Valentine, she is on there as well. And then the Chaplain and Airmen Family Readiness Center. So all of these are great resources if you're talking about SAPR problems, or if you're really concerned about suicide prevention. So again, if any of you need this magnet, come let me know and I'll make sure you get a copy of it. So that concludes the SAPR and the suicide prevention talking points. Thank you.
Well, hey, good afternoon, 452nd Security Forces Defenders. I will make this quick. The majority of you know I can be long-winded, but I want to make this fast, but by the same token, I want to make it productive, okay? We've been going through some tough times, as you guys know. We will get through it. I've always talked to everybody about perseverance. We want to make sure that we are persevering through all this, not only for you, but for your family as well. And I would also like to add, make sure you thank your family for allowing you to do what you do to serve this nation and to protect our freedom. Just a couple of bullet points here I want to talk about real fast, and I promise I'll get out of your way, okay? During these COVID times, let's make sure that we're focusing on our fitness and our health. Now, when I talk about fitness and health, I'm not simply talking about physical fitness, but I'm talking about mental fitness and spiritual fitness as well, to make sure we are up to doing the tasks that the American people expect us to do, okay? I want to talk a little bit about debt management. I know during the holidays we can or may get off target, and we may want to do some things that will stretch our limits or stretch our boundaries. What I would ask you to do is make sure that you are staying within your means. That can be, that's a hard thing to say at times, but by the same token, it's the right thing to say, okay? I just want to make sure after all this is said and done, we can come back in the new calendar year of 2021 and move forward, okay? Suicide prevention. By all means, I know that's a tough topic, that's a hot topic, but by the same token, please, I would ask you, don't suffer in silence. If you're feeling down, depressed, whatever the case may be, reach out to myself. Reach out to your supervisor, reach out to your superintendent, reach out to the commander. We're here, and when we say that, we sincerely mean that. Please, 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 I can't say enough, never suffer in silence. We're here to help you. That's our job. One of the last things I guess I would talk about is safety. Make sure that we're exercising safety, and including this pandemic we're currently in, make sure we're wearing our PPE, make sure we're adhering to the rules, the laws that the CDC has put out, as well as what our higher commands has put out for us. Last but not least, guys, we're all in this together. We are all in it together. Never ever forget that we all go through situations, circumstances, regardless of rank, position, attire. We're all in this thing together. If we remember that and realize there is help out there when you're struggling, we will be successful. I thank you all. I wish you a happy holidays. And if we, myself, the commander, the chief, your leaders, can help you in any form or fashion, please do not hesitate to reach out. With that being said, that's all I have for now. And hey, I'll see you guys in a little bit. Take care.
All right. We've reached the end of our commander's call. You know, I hope we hit some points that you can remember, that you can think about as you go on, you know, when you come in for your UTA weekends, or when you come in for your AGRs, you come in daily. Really, ultimately, we're family. We're family of defenders. We make up the 452nd Security Forces Squadron. So what we do here, how we treat each other here, defines the culture of our squadron. I'm looking forward to talking with the Airmen rep groups. I'm looking forward to the new Facebook product that we're going to have. You know, I'm looking forward to the conversation with the ladies in our squadron and Chief Master Sergeant Ratliff from the 452nd Mission Support Group, and to see what can come from that and what good things we can do as a squadron to turn the tides there. Thank you for sitting and taking a few of your minutes to join me and watch this commander's call.